So the first mistake that I made and that I see a lot of my students making is once they find a product and they've done their product research and they think it's a top selling product and they think it's going to do really well, they go all in, which means that they find a supplier on Alibaba. Once they find a supplier, they'll go for 50 units, 100 units of that product. When I first started out on eBay, one of my first stores that I started was a store that sold a lot of homeware products, a lot of kitchenware, bathroom stuff, just stuff around the house in general. And one of my first products was a kitchen blender. Because I did all my product research and it had a high sell-through rate and it was doing really well on eBay, I basically just went all in and ordered around 100 units of the product. It cost me a lot of money. I didn't test out the supplier. I didn't order any test samples. I just ordered 100 pieces of the blender. And when the blender came, everything looked nice. All of the 100 pieces were boxed up really, really nicely. As I started to send out each blender to each customer, every single customer came back and complained about the blender almost catching fire. So imagine I had around 90 pieces that cost me over $1,000 to import, just sitting in my mum's shed that I wasn't able to sell because I didn't do the right testing beforehand. At that point, I only sold around 5 to 10 blenders. So it wasn't too bad in terms of the customers complaining, but it was bad in terms of the fact that I had 90 blenders left in my mum's shed just sitting there just catching dust. That's the first mistake that I made when I first started out on eBay, and I see a lot of the students that join Project eBay, which is my course, also making. They go all in on a product just because they've done their product research. But what I always advise people is make sure that you do the right testing. Make sure that you order at least 5 pieces. Maybe give one to your friend, to your mum, to your dad, whoever. Let them test out the product, especially if the product is over $30 or around $20, or even if the sell price of what you're going to sell it for is going to be around £30 or £40 or $50 or whatever. Always make sure that you test the product first. Now, if the product is lower than $20 or $10, then it doesn't really matter if you go all in and order 50 pieces of the product because it's not going to cost you that much. But if we're talking about an item that's going to cost you $500, $1,000 plus to import, make sure that you test it properly to make sure that it's working right, because you don't want to start your store in a way that you get negative feedback straight away and you're left with product that you won't be able to sell. So that's the first mistake that I want you guys to be aware of. Make sure that you order a test sample first, test it out, especially if the product is an electrical item as well. Make sure you test out the product before you import such a large amount. So that's the first mistake that I see a lot of people making. Let's move on to the second mistake. So the second mistake that I see a lot of people making, whether they're students of mine or just in general that start any business, it doesn't have to be eBay, any e-com business or any business in general, they don't track their expenses and their revenue. When I first started out on eBay myself many years ago, because I was working as a bookkeeper / accountant at the time, I knew that I needed to keep track of all my records, all my sales, all my expenses, everything. So what I done is that I kept a spreadsheet on my computer, and then from there I was able to keep track of all my records when I first started. From day one, every single time I spent anything, every single time that I made anything, even if it was 1p, I made sure that I kept track of it, because it's very important at the start of your eBay career or any business in general that you keep track of all your records, not just for tax reasons, even just for yourself, just so that you know whether or not the business that you started is actually making money, if it's actually making a profit. You need to know this, so you need to make sure that you keep track of every single money that comes in and out of your business. So as I previously said, because I worked as an accountant and I actually studied accountancy and I graduated with an accounting degree, I already knew the basics of what I needed to do when it came to accounting. So if you don't know and you're not familiar with accounting, you need to make sure that you go away and do your research on how to do proper record keeping. By the way, guys, if you want me to make a video on bookkeeping and you want me to make a video on explaining the basics of bookkeeping when it comes to running a Shopify, eBay, Amazon, e-com business in general, put in the comments down below that you want to see me make a video on the basics of bookkeeping. I'll be more than happy to do that. So bookkeeping is very important, and this is the mistake that I see a lot of people making. A lot of people are more focused on making sales and seeing the money in their PayPal or their bank account go up, but they're not focused on keeping track of the records. It's very important for yourself, and it's also important for taxes when the tax man comes around. So make sure you keep a record of all the money that's going in and out. It's very, very important. Let's move on to the third and final mistake. So the third mistake that I see a lot of people making when it comes to their eBay business, and again, not just their eBay business, even their Shopify business or Amazon business, is that they don't focus on making sure that their reviews are 100%. For all my businesses, I make sure that I keep 100% positive feedback at all times. And the minute that I get a negative feedback, I'll make sure that I deal with it as soon as possible. It's very important that you guys understand that positive feedback is really, really important when it comes to starting a business, especially on eBay. And if you've got a review service on your Shopify store, it's very important as well that you monitor the negative feedback. And if you get any negative feedback, you have to deal with it as soon as possible. So that's one of the third and final tips that I want you guys to be aware of. Make sure that you keep a high feedback score. Make sure you monitor your feedback score every single day. Every single day, I'm always checking my phone every single day, making sure that I don't get negative feedback, and if I do, I'll contact the customer and try and get it resolved, try and get the query resolved, try and get the issue resolved as soon as possible. So that's the third mistake that I see a lot of people making. A lot of people that contact me that want to start selling on eBay, that want to switch their personal eBay account over to a business account. Before they start selling, I always make sure to check out their eBay store, and then their feedback is always below 99.5%. Always try to make sure that you keep a minimum feedback score of around 99.5. If you can keep it at 100, I would recommend that you do that. For all my stores, I try to keep them at 100% if I can. So it's very important that you guys be aware of this. I got one bonus tip for you guys, and it's a mistake that I see a lot of people starting out on eBay making, is that the main key to selling on eBay is to make sure that you're ranked as high as possible in the search results. This is the main aim of selling on eBay. The higher that you can get for whatever keyword or whatever product you're selling on eBay, the more money that you're going to make. So you need to make sure that you rank as high as possible. And the best way that you can do this is to sell your item lower than what you want to, so lower than break even. You might have to make a loss, but the cheaper that you sell the item, the more likely you're going to get sales, because there's two types of customers. There's one customer that will just type in the product that they're looking for, and whichever one comes up highest in the search results, they will just buy it. And then there's a second type of customer that will filter by lowest price, and then whichever one's the lowest price, they will buy it. But the more sales that you get for whatever item you're selling, you're going to rank higher and higher in the search results. So for example, if you needed to sell a product for £20 to make the profit that you want to make, I would recommend to sell the product for around £15, but whenever you get one sale, just add £1 on top of it. So when you get one sale, add £16, then to £17, then to £18, until you get to the target price of whatever you want to sell it for. But in that process, you would have ranked higher and higher in the search results. So this is a mistake that I see a lot of people making when it comes to selling on eBay. You need to make sure that you rank as high as possible in the search results for you to be able to have long-term success on eBay. The higher that you can get in the search results, the more likely you're going to make sales in your sleep. I got a lot of other strategies when it comes to ranking higher in the search results. If you want to see a video on that as well, put it in the comments that you want to see a video on me talking about how to rank higher in the eBay search results. I'll be more than happy to make that video. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope now you have a better understanding of how to look at eBay, how to not make these mistakes. I hope I explained it well. If you found any value in the video, as always, if you can press the like button, as I'll really appreciate that. Whilst you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss all the weekly videos that I'm going to bring out to help you make money on either eBay or Shopify. Make sure to follow me on Instagram as well, because I'm going to start doing a lot more giveaways. So make sure you follow me on Instagram. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. Comment what you thought of the video down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Make sure you stay safe out there. Peace.